Hello, everybody. This is Delicately Wild. Welcome back. I have my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful sister Amara with me, Susanne Amara. And I think this podcast session has been a long time coming. We've had a couple of cancellations and moving through all of the the timelines to get to this particular point where we are going to have an open, raw, and honest conversation. And to be honest, the subject matter, I don't really know where we're going to go just yet. So we could have discussions about walk-ins. We could have discussions about quantum physics, Terence Howard, the fall of the angelics, the Nephilim, consciousness traps, red flags. It doesn't matter. We're going to kind of see where we go and grow and flow with this and have a bit of fun. So I think the first thing would be a small introduction to you, Amara. Welcome to Delicately Wild. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
You want me to
Amara,
introduce myself, but you want
yes,
to introduce
please.
me?
I mean,
Oh, all right.
how do we, yeah, exactly. It's like, how do we explain we've got all these labels to define ourselves? So, but
Yeah.
we also understand we are all and nothing. But if we were going to give credentials and labels, please do introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Susanne Amara, and I guess I am a quantum explorer and creator, in essence, but with a very grounded perspective. So I facilitate events and group spaces for personal and spiritual development, and I'm also an artist as well. You can see one of my codes behind. So I bring the energy fields and the codes of creation into a way that you can interact with and enjoy. And I love speaking about life, about everything to do with being human, as well as the unseen world of the mechanics of energy and how our belief systems and experiences fit into that as well.
Yeah, beautiful. So creation mechanics, I think, is like this sort of buzzword that's been floating around for me at the moment, and it's been so powerful. And when I say at the moment, it's been like a kind of, it feels like a 4-year process, where moving out of South Africa, moving a little bit more out of plant medicine facilitation space and asking myself the question, what are you if you don't have this title of shaman? Who are you if you don't have the medicine? If you can't reach this point, this state of being through a beautiful, beautiful medicine called mushrooms and psychedelic experiences, but who are you at the core of creation? And I think this has been my particular journey into observing creation mechanics through Kalantic sciences and through experiences with you and your containers. So what does creation mechanics mean to you? How do we, I mean, you've spoken about your codes, bringing this information down in a way that is translatable to people.
What is creation mechanics? Well, it's simply everything that you experience, see, and feel, and so much more. It's how do we sense make where everything comes from? We label it God. It just has this word, doesn't it? Or some other narrative.
Yeah.
There's something, you don't just appear, it's not just an accident. There is an order to creation. And we live in some kind of order that we observe, but there is more as well than what is there. So for me, it's the fundamental mechanics are the science behind creation. So how does something that isn't in existence come to be in existence and then take on a structure and patterns that then eventually form the matter that we have as our bodies in the atomic structures, because what our brain does is it makes things into objects. So we self-identify and we never really think about that we're actually this miracle of chemistry and energy moving around, and the empty space in front of us isn't empty. It's full of energy. In every little tiny microdot of space, there is enough energy to power a planet. When you realize how we work, it kind of changes the way you look at things. So I like to study that.
Yeah.
because that's what I feel. Eventually, what it comes down to is basically we're sound. That's the first breath is sound. It comes from nothing and it becomes a wave and it becomes sound, and then it becomes light. So we associate that with different qualities, and that's really what I harness in the codes. Is I go back to the first order of the sound of the light, which has mathematical code, and then that's what comes through in the pictures and the drawings, and we can dance it and sing it and feel it. And when we realize that that's how we all come from the same place.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like
That's what oneness is, the first breath.
Yeah. And I mean, would you call this space, this sound field, a pre-matter space? And this is part of this particular time matrix in this particular universal structure. That's what you are, the creation mechanics that you are learning about in this particular time matrix, right? Because for example's sake, I mean, this is hypothetical, we can go into stories about it, but if we were in another time matrix or galaxy, creation might work completely differently.
It does.
Okay.
So from my perspective, the one that we're experiencing now, when we describe or use the word universe, that's hard for people, because most people would think, oh yes, have a concept of, or the universe is like stars and galaxies and some form of space that they've been shown, maybe the picture of, that microwave picture from the Big Bang, if you've ever seen it, that sort of thing. That's universe. That's not universe from my perspective at all. We live in a multi-dimensional space, so that you're talking about things that are in the observable universe there, not what's in the bits that we don't observe. So what you asked was, is that light and sound before matter? So we've got the first forces, so like the first breath or the first forces before anything creates.
Yes.
And then we have what we call partiki, which is the very first units of energy. This is before the quantum space that we kind of study in science. So that's like the very first units of matter that form a matrix of information, and everything kind of works off these units of energy. So we start to interact with them. They come from nothing or the void into creation, and then they come out, so particle and antiparticle, and then that makes nothing. So if you only had those two things, something that creates and something that uncreates, then you have nothing. So you have to have a third space that keeps everything moving, that is the force behind creation. And that's what we've got, this thing. It will always create for infinite time and space, like let's call it the mind of God. I mean, it doesn't really matter what we call it, it's arbitrary, but there's something there, and then we have this constant movement of energy, and then we equate light and sound with what we can see and what we can hear, but that isn't what I mean by light and sound either. It's just value. So it's values of quantum energy, and then that's what we eventually come into contact with. But universal frameworks, there are many. We call them God worlds, and there are multiple God worlds, and they will have different forces, different structures, different mathematical arrangements. We're just in one type of time matrix that has a particular construct of 15 dimensions, and 12 of those are what we would be able to interact with, and then 3 which are in higher dimensional framework. Then that's what I describe. And within that we have smaller harmonic universes, which are like say like an octave on a piano. That it's like they're just different layers, and we call those, then there's like dimensions. It's all just mathematical, but we live and exist primarily in the third dimension, which is one which is predominantly quite dense, and we hold quite physical body, but life happens in all dimensions, and it's perpetual, and it's quite mind-blowing when you start to kind of come to this, because we don't really have tangible, I mean, we do have words, but we don't really have a lot of information that's out there. And you know, because we've predominantly forgotten what we are, and we don't have access to that information because it has been kept secret and it has been hidden and drip fed to us. A lot of the information that we have is not the full information, or it's slightly misleading, and that's where it gets interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, what's interesting about this intro to our conversation is we're speaking quantum, we're speaking mathematics, we're speaking sound and light. And if we have any listeners that are, you know, kind of drawn to the show because of its spiritual nature, and they may be wondering, how does creation mechanics help me heal? How does it ease suffering and pain? Where is the spiritual aspect to that which to them may sound quite scientific at this point? And I guess you spoke about, you know, the mind of God. So I guess the starting point of this would be for people to evaluate what God is in their lives. You know, how do we describe God? And we had a conversation around this some months ago when I said, God to me is a pinprick. It's that simple, you know, but, and then it's the wave of what that pinprick creates as well. But in terms of trying not to confuse people, and where does the spirituality weave in with creation mechanics to ease suffering, pain, etc., etc.? Because this is really a space that I have a lot of passion for, and a belief system around. If we can understand how creation mechanics works by directing our consciousness stream correctly, then we have a certain chance at sovereignty, freedom, joy, celebration, and expression within our creation.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a deep question, but one very close to my heart. So this is really where I am too. You know, it doesn't matter how fancy we get, how big our understanding is, how well studied we are. At the end of the day, we're human. We're having a human experience. We're a consciousness inside of a form, in a soul. Like everyone understands soul, I hope.
Yes.
So that's your sense, your soul in terms of your human is who am I? Because you've got a self-identity, so ego identity. The reason that we suffer is because of that ego identity.
Yeah.
It's because of biochemistry. So the, you know, the emotional framework that we have, trauma, unhappiness, these things are very much coded into the human body because we have an experience through our senses, through our relationships. And for me, that's where we meet most people. We don't meet them up in the
Yeah.
up in the mechanics. So how does the two things fit together is, it's like being a goldfish in a goldfish bowl, and you're just going round and round in the goldfish bowl, but you don't know you're in a goldfish bowl.
Yeah.
And then when you do know you're in a goldfish bowl, you can do something about it. I think that's the thing is, until you can try lots of ways to fix yourself because you might think you're broken. But the underlying cause of all of this is energy. And it affects the biochemistry of the body. And therefore that affects your perception, your brain function, your emotions, your energy, your everything that you think you are, how you self-identify and relate to the world. So
I mean, in essence, we're talking about bioregenesis.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're evolved from, we've been in, as human beings, we could argue the amount of time, but many, many thousands of years, civilizations, risen and fall. And they've all basically been founded on trauma.
Yes.
On survival, on loss, we talk about incarnation and karma. These are words that are very commonly used. and we don't really understand our place in the world, especially the modern world, because it's become quite distorted from that nuclear place. So we search and we seek outside. That's what the hero's journey is, because it's like, I'm unhappy, I want to find what's happiness. So we're sold an idea that God is going to take us somewhere and make us happy, or something's going to save us, but actually it's ourselves that are our own savior. It's ourselves. It comes from within, because underneath all of this, we are absolute, unconditional, infinite creation and love.
Yeah.
And when you're upset, and when you're in grief, and when you feel hard done to, and you're scared of the world outside, you can't feel that.
Yeah.
At best, it's like topical ointment, isn't it? You know, you get high on something, or you do something that gives you pleasure, but it doesn't last. So for me, the true connection with creation, whatever name you give it, the soul, the source, is to reconnect with that original blueprint, that original space, and then it's self-sustaining. You self-sustain and you regenerate. Yes, exactly what you say, Brigitte. You regenerate. So that's really where I come from, and I know you do too. That is to help support people make sense of this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just really relying on something that's outside of yourself. And when you've got all the power inside of your whole body to find this place, we're actually incredibly resourced.
Yeah. I mean, I often have this idea around being a superhero, and that this superhero aspect, like, the what's it called? The Last Airbender, and, all these movies. It's like, we certainly have capacity to move molecules through understanding creation, and to create worlds or planetary systems, whatever it is, once we understand creation mechanics. And what's so fascinating about this is, again, those people watching might be asking, well, you guys haven't really spoken about angels, about ascended masters. We're really at this atomic level discussing spirituality through creation mechanics. I guess my I guess my question is, what are the traps that people fall into, on their spiritual paths? What are the red flags that we should be looking for, particularly in this time within creation?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, red flag is a funny word, isn't it? Because that would create fear or avoid. So from my perspective of God's source, everything in creation is God's source, whether or not it's kind or likes human beings or wants the best for us, because there certainly are things in creation that don't like human beings, and also haven't got the best interests of human beings at heart. But it's still all source. It's still ultimately God mind and our creation. So what I feel that everybody chooses their own path. That's the first thing, is if you start to diminish people for taking certain routes, then you're undermining their free will choice, as we've been given free will choice. So there are lots of things, and there are lots of things to look out for, but inherently, whatever path you take, you're going to be on some kind of journey. So anything I might speak of or mention here, I can guarantee you 100% pretty much I've been through it all. So you don't arrive and suddenly get to see all these things. Well, if you do, you're very lucky. Some of the young ones will, because they're different, they're definitely made up now. But for someone, I'm 53, and I definitely have walked through the full hero's journey. So certain things to look out for, and just ask yourself mostly is, why who am I giving my power to? What is the energy that I'm giving my power to? Firstly, I think that's a really good one.
Yeah.
Because, even just in regular life, teachers, gurus, people in power, like we're both facilitators, we have people, trying to give their power to us all the time. So, it's really like a doctor, a lawyer, like we're taught to give our power to authority, to someone who has a better knowledge than us seemingly, but often that turns out not to be the case. I mean, that there are people that can help us. Now, in the multi-dimensional space, there are lots and lots of different beings, and because we are creators, we kind of like create these libraries. Let's call them libraries because it's easy to understand. So we create libraries of characters, and these characters, there's some characters that are going to be helpful for us. They're parts of ourselves that have come to help us, assist us and support us. And then there's these other characters that look like they're helpful, but maybe they're not necessarily going to help us to evolve. They'll keep us thinking that we're evolving, but we're actually going around. It's called a false ascension timeline. So there are different beings and characters involved in that, but it can be very stigmatizing when you start saying, this is wrong and that's wrong. So I'm very, very careful with how I frame what I'm about to say. Because I know that I have definitely channeled certain beings, and I have had interactions with certain beings, and I had lots of beliefs around these beings too as well, that but they're not necessarily bad, but they are not there to give us the full connection that we can have. So it's like, do you want to have the full connection or just a part connection? It will feel like a full connection, but it's not. It's the way to describe. So things to look out for really, and a question to ask is, if there's something external that you are meeting, a being, especially a very popular type, like archangels are very popular, ascended masters are very popular, and the reason they're popular is lots of people believe in them, deities, gods. The more attention we give to that energy, the more likely it is to create in this dimensional field. So it has more power there. So you are going to be more drawn to it. So it's like a very bright light. It gets our attention. And once you're in, you're going to go in you walk in the door of a library. It's the Ascended Master Library. We go in the Ascended Master Library, and it's full of books and different corridors and different rooms, and each one has got information, and you're going to do that. And you can get self-empowered from learning, but the gnosis is all inside of yourself. It's all coming from within you. So some of this information is helpful and some of it is not helpful, because when a being starts to direct you and starts to tell you, this is a red flag, you should do this, you should do this, you need to do that, I'm going to put this thing inside of you, I'm going to correct you, this is a red flag for me, because it's disempowering. You are a God source, self-activated human pillar of light. Why would a being want to do that? Like every being in my family that I've met for the last 4 or 5 years has just been, no, you've got to make those decisions yourself. We can give you a range of options. These are things that you can find. They illuminate the choices, but never ever direct. And non-interference is a very, very big part of the true angelic capacity, is that we don't want to interfere in people's free will choice. So that's why I say when I'm things, it's with a lot of reverence for people's choices, not to make people feel more afraid, because the thing about fear is it collapses your geometries, it collapses you, and then it puts you in the very thing that would help you get out of that space. It makes you want to hold on more. It's like the mother says, don't smoke. Because that's the overlay. You're going to smoke more, but that's the overlay. That's the implant. That's the overlay. What the human race is in. So how we go about framing it is very important.
And I was going to say, I mean, we had a bit of a discussion before we pressed record and went live. Well, not live, but press record. But it was around, allowing us to flow through creation as it is and as it presents, charged and fueled by love and open eyes and this level of humility, where we have compassion for when we fall into a certain energetic charge that may not be the highest beneficial service for us, but to not judge ourselves and to not, cast this, we seem to be demonizing a lot of things, and it's not really particularly helpful for us to move through those programs. And I sometimes find it very difficult to communicate the level of oneness within that God mind, because everything that I seem to see, there's an understanding why it's there. But people may look at that and be like, you're having a little bit of a nihilistic view of life, so therefore it means nothing. And it's not that, it's just that I am seeing the charge behind the action and understanding why it's there in its full capacity. So yes, thank you for mentioning that, we speak these particular words with such grace and reverence in understanding each human being's role in working through what their consciousness seeks to work through, right? Because it's all consciousness at the end.
It is, and we're all connected to it. But I think we haven't really had, I think the New Age, particularly the 3D, 5D New Age, New Earth, the fallen angelics, type of love, bliss, light world is an escapist world. It's a bypassing world, and even, with respect, the doctrines and teachings that are on this planet for the last 10,000 years are all fallen architectures. They're not all bad. There's nothing wrong. It's just that there is this huge missing. It's like you've got half of a story. So you're living in half of the story, and that half of the story is great. But the bit that's missing is the essential bit to join up the dots. It's like you've got half of the ingredients and you can't bake the cake.
Yeah.
And we exist in this kind of running around trying to fix all this stuff and upgrade ourselves and get better and do all this stuff, when actually it isn't actually that difficult to make moves, but it takes commitment. That's the thing. It just takes commitment. And the commitment is something that is going to change your life. And often I think we like to belong in groups, and we don't want to be the one. You don't want to be the one that's the party pooper, or you don't want to not belong in that group, or you don't want to think that you've done anything wrong, because there's a lot of shame involved. Deep shame, like systemic shame, and guilt and grief, and so that's why all these things stay. But it's really been designed that way. I mean, it's so clever. It's been designed that way to really keep human beings going round in spiritual circles and spiritual narratives, but never really having the proper tools to actually ascend, to actually regenerate, and to actually truly self-activate. I don't want to come and activate your DNA. I'd love to give you the information and provide a space where you could experience that for yourself.
Correct. Yeah.
But in terms of how we are, if we're going to step up, it's not just about energy, it's about our values. It's about the choices we make about how we live, how we speak.
Yeah, I was going to say language as well.
Alongside, because everything matters. We are interacting 24/7 with our thoughts, our emotions, our words, our actions, the things we buy. When this kind of starts to set in, it's like you're looking at a mountain and you're like, what on earth can I do? And I think there is nowhere for anyone to land. So we stay in the other because that's more comfortable. This is what we've been taught as humans. We're quite lazy.
Yes.
With respect, I have it too, procrastination. And
instant gratification.
We want to have short rewards with modern technology, short reward, dopamine, the way our brains are set up with short attention spans. It doesn't really favor us going that way. So the mission, I think, for anyone that's facilitating or bringing this type of information is, how do we meet everybody with the biggest love and the biggest compassion, and for myself as someone that's learning to every day humble to it. How do we actually move? And that is just to not get worried about the mountain too much. Like bring back, because joy and love and connection and just simple things like mastering your breath are some of the most powerful tools that we can have without getting our heads lost in science and mechanics. It's small steps, isn't it? If you're not happy, if you're not stable, excuse me, if you're not stable, if you have extremes of emotion, or you're unable to regulate your nervous system, that this is more important than how spiritual you are from my perspective.
Because I think also it's like this essence of the child in such a complicated system, or that which we've been describing now. It's not complicated, but there's a lot of information, there's a lot of data, and like you say, how do we approach this to come back to the basics? And you spoke about the frequency of joy, but it's also just like imagining yourself as a child. What do children do? They just observe and wonder, and even though something may be dangerous in front of them, they are the love of God in their hearts. They don't perceive it as that immediately. They may feel it when they come closer and closer, but they're really the innocence and purity of God. But they don't know the creation mechanics, and they don't know the Cathara grid. They're just pure frequency of love. And this is an exercise that I also do. It's like with the breath, just imagining myself in this childlike wonder, observing creation at any point in time, and asking myself how that childlike wonder can drive me forward to create and show up without being overwhelmed by huge amounts of spiritual jargon or these mission contracts, that I have to do this thing. No. So thank you for that.
We're also creators, Brigitte, as well. Sorry, the other thing is to remember that we are creators. Like that's what I said before. So if you go down the route, say like the, really common, like the conspiracy, or, like when we start to see through the veil, it can be overwhelming because we're going to see things that aren't good, like dangerous or harmful. But because we've been pre-programmed with horror films and, space and science fiction, like our minds are predisposed to go to fear. And this is really like we have placebo that can be positive, like joy in that, but we have nocebo as well, where we create more negative experiences. So this is where the mastery, this is for me, like the spirituality is about the mastery of our whole being,
of the full spectrum.
Full spectrum, not just how godly you are, or how many crystals you've got, or which dimensions you've got, or how many strands you've activated. Can you hold a conversation in presence? Can you feel your body?
Speak to us about that. Speak to us about that.
Like, you know, like
The
if you
trauma.
open all the upper stations of identity in our Catharogid, let's just say for simplicity, the upper chakras, it's easier for people to understand.
Yeah.
Say you just open up your higher chakras and suddenly you're seeing all these beings and I'm getting downloads and I'm channeling Mother Mary or some extraterrestrial being and I'm speaking light language and going in these different dimensions and everything. And that's wonderful. But how do those experiences impact on your life?
Mm.
Are they making you a better communicator? Are you able to integrate the things that don't go so well easily?
Mm.
What does your life look like? Can you feel your body? Can
Mm.
you feel all the way down to your feet? Can you feel all of that space?
Mm.
And that's really important because a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
And therefore, we start to use these things as a bypass
Bypass.
solutions
Yeah.
for difficult things, or we make the traumas that we have in life and we try to escape through those other mechanisms, and that's not what they're designed for.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's not, because once we go into the mechanics, we realize that all those things stay because our light body isn't functioning correctly.
And in a
And it's
balanced
not
way.
about
Yeah.
chakras, because there's things behind the chakras. There's all, it's like a chakra is like a door in a building, but behind it there's a whole load of stuff, like a whole engine.
Yeah.
And if that engine doesn't work properly and those components don't work properly, then the chakra doesn't work properly, and then the energy systems don't work properly, then your biochemistry doesn't work properly,
Yeah.
then your brain doesn't work, your body doesn't work properly.
Yeah.
So it's really, really necessary to not, so that's why the mechanics are important. The rest of it is often just states of experience in the multiple dimensional world, and then beliefs that we attach to those experiences.
Yes.
They're different things altogether.
Yes. Yes. You spoke about channeling certain entities, deities, gods, goddesses. Are these gods AI? Could we call them AI gods?
Oh, that's a deep question. How deep do you want to go?
Let's go there. I think to have a guest on like you, we may as well go deep. And for example's sake, I tried to find it today, but I just couldn't. There was a discussion that was on one of your posts where I said, I think it was one of your videos, and I said, you said organic artificial intelligence versus artificial intelligence. And that really stuck out to me. And what was so funny and beautiful and profound was your answer was just like this encyclopedia answer of, the levels of artificial intelligence. So, I just thought I'd bring that in there with allowing people to understand that there is a perspective out there that we could have these gods and goddesses that many, many people along their path will participate with, that a certain perspective exists that these are actually AI gods, right? So perhaps we can dive a little bit deeper into AI in our spiritual landscape at this point in time, and why it's so fascinating from an evolutionary perspective, as well as important from a discernment perspective.
Oh my God, this could be a series.
I know.
Look, so I wanted to, sorry to distract from that question, but
No
I think
worries.
it's important first that when we're talking about gods, because this is a very sensitive subject,
Yes.
this, religious beliefs, sincere experiences. So it's
Yes.
definitely me to undermine anyone's experience. I have to start off by saying what you experience is real for you.
Yes.
And I honor and respect everybody's individual right to experience what they're experiencing and believing what they're believing in. This is coming from my perspective as I understand it to be at this stage in my awareness. So on Earth, imagine that you are a caveman, and we just went back in time with our mobile phones and a few of our little digital devices or whatever, and we meet the cavemen. We would look like gods.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, even a couple of years. Yeah, we would look like gods. So the whole notion of gods and goddesses is very interesting because they come from other planets to visitors and brought with them civilizing technology because they were after the gold on our planet, essentially,
Yes.
and wanted to like mine the gold. And so we have some kinds of gods that are evidently extraterrestrial that brought these things. And so that's a whole context of Earth history, is different there's many civilizations. Our history on this planet goes back hundreds of thousands of years. It's hard for people to even, they just don't even think we've lived 10,000 years.
Correct.
Like, or we,
I mean, it's billions of years, right?
Darwinism. It's like, this is what's in people's heads. Like we developed from apes. Like, it's just laughable.
Yeah.
It's so funny when you really can see what happened. So yeah, the gods that we believe in some sections of life are extraterrestrial gods that just became like deified, or and they exist in multiple dimensions, and people have experiences with them, and some of them are really not helpful to the human dynamic. We'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
So the other thing is we can have experiences of oneness without even meeting the God source spirit, because we're just getting high on serotonin. We're having big trippy experiences, but we're not necessarily having a deeper experience. But everything is still source. Like it's a bit of a paradox.
Yeah.
So where we have everything in this life is coming through particle creation. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
But we've got a paradox on Earth, because we've got what looks like the beginning of artificial intelligence, in technology, what I would call machine-based intelligence, because it's been developed by predominantly men in software houses with it will get very dark if we really go into it all. But yeah, it's basically being developed on Earth as a technology, but it was already here. It has been many times. Yeah, it's not new. Nothing's new. And then we have other types of artificial intelligence which are dimensionalized. Yeah. So they then appear to be not in the physical world. Yeah. And this is extremely advanced. So when our consciousness starts to interact with the different layers of dimensionalized energy fields and information, which is available, everything is available as information. Yes. Where our antenna goes is variable, and the artificial space of information can look and mimic anything pretty much. So we haven't yet learned as humans to differentiate in our systems. That's why we're developing this now, so we can learn, I hope quickly, to differentiate between something that I would call dead light. There's no organic life registry in this informational field, but it might stimulate you inside, feel pleasure, or to have serotonin rush, to have a peak spiritual experience. And what you actually can self-generate in yourself when you are having that experience, it's different things. So basically it can mimic pretty much anything. It's highly advanced, and it's very interesting when you start to see it. But it can be scary if you let yourself feel disempowered by it, because again, we think of the films that the humans have been very programmed. We carry a lot of inherited fear and grief that we can't reach, relating to robots. Robots. I think of the Borg in Star Trek. As a child, I would watch Star Trek, and there was this race called the Borg. They were like in cubes. I mean, don't worry, Gene Roddenberry must actually have known about all of this stuff.
Definitely.
So they were like cyborg, like they were literally assimilating races and planets and turning them into cybernetic robots, half human, half other things. And I watched that as a child, and I felt sick. I was shaking. I was so like traumatized by it, but I had no idea, of course, why. What was the reason for that? And that is because, you know, we've actually lived types of timelines in our multidimensional space. So we have this unconscious fascination, but also there's an unrest in us as well, because it's like a freight train that's running out of control. When something can get in your head and make you see and feel and respond to something as real, but it's not real, then the question is, like, you know, it's a very good question, is what is real?
So it's like, this is where we bring in the what did you say before? An aggressive mental construct we were talking about. Yeah. And an error in thinking, right? So we need to be able to I guess correct that error and know what is what, for what reason and what purpose within the creation, within this creational structure, in order to then take empowered action and move forward on our own individual creation path within the one God source, right? So then that drops away all naming, all blaming, all victimizer programs. So, I mean, based on what I've just said now, is it possible to begin to identify that which is AI and communicate to it, sort of command your space and your reality that it is acknowledged within the one, but it is not an energy or code that you wish to participate with at this moment. And so you walk along your sovereign way, choosing to walk in the Christ, or choosing your consciousness experiencing organic codes and frequencies rather than this artificial space. Do I have a good...
Well, if you use a phone, you're already interacting with AI. You know?
Well, this is actually
the whole idea that you know, in the spiritual world, like, you know, inorganic and organic. It's like, well, do you just get up in the morning? Like, you know, do you live in a field?
Yeah, sometimes I do, but
modern life, we're interacting with it all the time. So this is just about sovereignty, and also to, you know, direct your attention. This is about the whole point of angelic presence on this earth is about love.
Yeah.
It's about love. Now, the AI only knows how to be AI. It's highly sophisticated. It can make computations that human brain at this stage just can't do. It's faster, it's smarter, it can optimize very quickly. It could have massive positive, you know, can have positive things. There's positives in this too. I think that I wrote about it. It's not so much down to the fact that it exists in the way it does, it's how it's been programmed. So the type of anti-life, assimilatory intelligence that we're talking about multidimensionally, the way that it will affect humans in the way it's on Earth is for us to smarten up ourselves, not get into fear, because that is not helpful, to not get into hate, because that is against natural way of being,
Mm.
and to make a conscious decision as to what I am choosing. But you can't avoid it. I mean, if you just literally just switch on your phone, like half the images are AI, you can't actually tell. It can mimic a human being, it can mimic a voice. It won't be long before pretty much you won't be able to tell. So how do you tell? Is only the only way you're going to be able to tell is to realize your eyes will lie to you.
Yeah.
Because what you see is not necessarily real, but your eyes and your brain is going to tell you it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you go to a film, you think you're in the film, don't you?
Yeah.
You experience
Yeah.
real. That's why it's so powerful. That's why it's so powerful. When we listen to a piece of music and someone's singing those words, like we feel that, because our ears link to the emotions. So these are the senses that we are given are lovely, but they also filter out a lot of information and tell us lies. So for humans to truly evolve, we need to be able to tell the difference. And the only way to tell a difference is to develop your higher sensory perception. You'll develop your higher sensory perception through accretion of energy in your light body. So that is to build up it's not higher frequency either, it's actually lower frequency, higher oscillation in the light body. So we're changing dynamics slightly as well. So to actually do that, and then with that your heart opens, because if you just open this, it doesn't work. You have to open the other the hara, the whole body. Imagine that a big line going through your body. You've got to meet in every level. That when that is working efficiently and properly, then it's just like you can tell, and there wouldn't be any judgment. It's just your body is, your energy is strong, you are strong, you make conscious choices, therefore you trust the choices that you make. And we're going to live in a very interesting world, and we need to be able to differentiate, otherwise we're fair game. We're like the gazelle in the jungle, and the men are coming with the guns to shoot us. So it's like you need to be able to be self-aware to make awake choices. And it's a hard one. I think it's a very valid discussion. It's one that's difficult for people because we want to feel safe predominantly. We've existed in a safe cave of society that we've created in the modern world that looks like it's the safe cave, but actually is controlled and contrived and designed to curtail our life actually and devolve our choices. So this is what we're really here for now, is to help to educate people that want to know more and learn more, but to do it in a way that doesn't create more fear and more of a likelihood to want to stay in the safe cave, because that's what my dad would have done, be like, oh, that's just a load of mumbo jumbo, and go back to the paper and I'm too old. No, you're not too old. I'm all those excuses that we've got, because it's been put up on a shelf as being something unobtainable, or something you have to pay a lot of money for, or you have to be right for. Like, no. Like, everybody has the same opportunity. That's it. Like, that when we can see it, we've just built this crazy world, and it's full of paradoxes, and we want to divide when actually we're all united, all of us. And artificial intelligence, in the destructive way, the way that it's been used and utilized to control species, that's harmful, and that's not nice and kind to that species. But does it have a right to exist as God's source? Yes.
Yeah.
It's part of God's mind. It's for
Yeah.
us to work out, for us to work it out, for
Yeah.
us to develop better choices and better systems. It's for us to become more resilient. And actually, the more that we become unified and the more that we become harmonized, I feel that we've got a chance to actually accelerate creation itself. So it's I don't advocate it at all, but I think demonizing AI is not helpful either,
No,
because then
it's just,
we
yeah.
can't look at it, we can't have conversations about it, we can't sense make, and it's like everything, you know, as soon as we start to do that, we can't discuss anything. It's taken off the table.
Correct. I wanted to move on to, well, before, while we're still on the AI, you know, I had this thought the other day, because AI is a big topic in my space at the moment, particularly when you keep observing things and seeing the overlays and seeing the inversions and seeing the distortions and feeling it more and more and more within your, you know, your reality and the way you perceive things. And then I observed, you know, the conversation that I have with myself around my spiritual journey, as Brigitte is someone who observes her patterns and then observes the attachment surrounding those patterns and seeks to resolve that attachment, right? And then I thought of the phone, like you said, and it's like, oh. So I started thinking, like, if we're, you know, we're at let's say you're an ascended master on this planet, and you get told by your master, well, my dear daughter, my beloved, this is a big attachment that you have. And you would say, yes, master, but this is a tool for me to spread the word and to do these things. And I had this just like, again, these paradoxical thought processes coming up around, well, what would my life look like if I eliminated this attachment to that which is part of the creation of the codes that I anchor through my creationism expression online, through this podcast, through the courses that I do, through the things that I facilitate. And it was this, you know, where would I end up in the soup of creation if I let go of technology? You know, and again, it's, I think you asked in the beginning, do you just sit in the field, or are you part of the construct that of this modern day society, you know? So yeah, I mean, I just thought I'd mention that. And I thought, I don't know what I would tell my master teacher. I'd be like, I'd have to think about it for a little while. But
I think the master teacher say maybe that one of the great things about humans is that we forget how simple things are. Really, it just comes down to presence. So chop wood and carry water.
yes.
The whole point of having consciousness of any sort in any body in any dimension is presence. And if you don't have presence, then you're not present with the thing that's occurring in that moment, because it can only occur in that. So whether you had a phone or did not have a phone, you were in some form of cybernetic organism, or whether you're in the countryside and living in a simple, you can be present or not present with any of those things.
Yeah.
You have lived eternally in multiple dimensions, in multiple forms and multiple bodies, both in helpful and not constructive spaces. Like, how present were you in any of those moments? It's anybody's guess. It's far more important present. If you presently have your device and use it wisely, it can be helpful.
Yeah.
But if you overuse it, then it's going to suck your third eye and start sticking programs in your head.
Yeah. Beautiful summary, Amara. Beautiful summary. Yeah. And that's it. I like that, the presence, you know, and again, it's the intention, the driving force behind it is what is your intention behind this? I see for me, there's these cycles that I move through when I'm in launch and creation mode, then I'm spending time there. And then I, you know, fulfill the creation. And that's not time to be on technology other than you know, through Zoom and things like that, because then I'm present with my course. But I wanted to move on to Terrence Howard. It is Howard, right?
Okay, I had a question for you.
Yes, go for
Sorry,
it.
Terrence Howard. Wow, you're going to get me there. You're going to put me in a corner.
No, I think it's an easy one.
The question
Yes.
is the with the technology and the things that we do, is that the thing is we can demonize it again. It's so easy just to demonize it.
Yeah.
But you know, from my perspective, like I find technology challenging, particularly the level and degree of control and censorship and you know,
the algorithm
shadow because of the things I talk about.
Yeah.
So how do I get my word out? You know, before we had technology, we just had local groups, and that's maybe where we go back to. But we do have this technology, so it's a great way to try at least and spread our great creations. It's going out into the universe anyway. You know, our hearts are loading out this stuff out into the universe. It's like that's why we're evolving, for all the shocking stuff that's divisive and negative. If you look at it that way, there's positive things as well. So the technology can help us as well if we use it wisely. And I do struggle with it, but I use it because I think it's an important tool.
Well, it's interesting because I'm at this point, might sound crazy, but I feel like the algorithm is communicating with me, and I'm communicating with it quite purposefully and intentionally. So recently I did a poem, so it's just a 90-second video. Hey, this is my life, but the poem is the teaching. The poem is the punch. The poem is the information, right? And the poem was about, dear algorithm, could we start working together? Could you perhaps pop my content forward so we have more of a neutral mix of information? And I watched how, I knew it would, but I watched how that post just dove down into nothingness. I was like, the algorithm did not like me, my suggestion. And so it's interesting where I'm like, algorithm, how are we going to work with this today? You know, so yeah, it's a very, very interesting.
My answer for that one at the moment.
Say again.
There's no solution on the social media platform of Facebook, and Instagram, which are, you know, mutually owned. No, it's anti anti anything spiritual, pretty much, unless you are a shill. So you asked about red flags. Just go and look at all the people that have got hundreds and thousands of likes, and then you'll understand what the false light is. Because that's being promoted like anything. Like Metatron, archangels, like everything, just getting absolutely flabbergastingly put forward, and anything that challenges that or wants to put out a strong narrative of something that might help just gets absolutely buried. So it's very, very clever. And the thing for me is that I know that what we do is we work multidimensionally. We're working in levels of creation, so there is absolutely nothing to worry about. Don't get disheartened if this is you and you're listening to this. Get your posts out. Don't get worried about it, because we're working in an eternal framework as well. So you can't get your workshop out. Find a different way. Do something creative
and trust.
I just have to
trust the right
frequency
is coming.
Everything got quartered. Literally, it's about a quarter of where it used to be.
Yeah,
it's fine. I would prefer to be where I am with the energy that I have, and the feeling and connection to creation source that I have, and not have my work put out and promoted on a social media platform, because we're going to develop our own ways. This is evolution. This is evolution. We can use the
Precisely.
technology to our advantage, and that is what will happen. We will develop different ways, different. Look at the media, the way the media has decentralized. It had to come this way.
Yeah.
So now it's starting to pick up. It's slow, but it will pick up. And this is how we will live. We just went in a kind of strange social homogenization, a social control environment for 20 years. And we can come out of that.
For sure.
And no, like you said, you put your energy in there, and our energy is powerful. So with that intention of changing the algorithm, maybe that creates something new. Maybe there's someone's brain, some kid that's just like, yeah, like I want to create something different, and then just goes and does it. That's what happens.
Exactly.
So nothing stays the same. It will always evolve.
Yeah.
I'm a great believer that things will always come right.
Well, the universe is always trying to balance itself out, right? This nice this harmony, hue, man, just this hue of just balance and neutrality, you know, neutralizing the polarization of things. So all things exist, but we have a bit more spectrum of choice. And I think this is what is exciting about where we are on the planet at this point, because when you really step into that creator mode, you know, that God avatar, Krystic avatar aspect of you that understands it's all linked, and that you can create something hugely and beautifully profound, and that it lies in your hands within your community. And it's possible. It is possible. Nothing is impossible. That's my best friend's.
You can change your health, and you can change your body, and you can change your epigenetics. You can change anything. It's inside of you, and you have the power. And it's not new age bullshit. This is absolute science of creation. That you have got that power, but you can't say. You said it earlier, like, you know, we are. It's like Guardians of the Galaxy or the Avengers or something. We've all got some incredible gifts. Like I just happen to have remembered some of mine early on, but you know, like I didn't have the emotional framework that went with it when I first, you know, started to realize what I could do. And you know, that the thing about this is it has to go hand in hand with maturity. Like if you have the power to move an object and you're not emotionally controlled, well, that becomes weaponized. And this is the fate of the race. Is with everything. You know, we've got this technology in our hands right now. It can go in different directions. What are we going to choose? Is it Terminator, or are we going to choose something else? We've got it right here. We're here now. It's not 10 years, but we're here. So these choices that we're having often seem simple. You know, shall I just, you know, pay by phone, you know, digitize everything, put everything on my phone in one basket? Well, it's only going one way. To a chip in your body, to a body that's wired in to the Internet of Things. Or do you want to develop enough inside so that you can make positive choices and say no to that, but know why you're saying no? And develop amazing ability to connect with people in a different way. Connect in a different way and create in a different way to really help our planet. Technology can solve a lot of the things that are going on the planet when it's used in the right way. So we can. It's not that we need to go back to being like cavemen. We're just using our hearts as the technology, our bodies as the technology.
And we have choice.
And we have choices, yes.
Yeah. And
And being respectful.
yeah. And I was going to say, you know, here comes up that, hold on, let me think of the correct word. Nothing else is coming to mind, says, but it's this flaw that we have as a collective for instant gratification, which may skew our choices a little bit more. You know, we want to go on this vacation. We want this to be quick. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that and just, you have choice. You always have choice. But just sit in silence a little, you know, still the noise before we go into decision-making spaces. So we're coming to the
good. Sorry, it doesn't always feel good either.
No.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
We want things to feel good, but sometimes it ain't going to feel good for a bit because you detoxify or purge or clear some of those things. So it's good to know that and just, you know, honor it as a person, honoring of all experiences.
Yeah.
Not just the good bits or the fluffy bits that we love.
Exactly. The good, the bad, the ugly, the dark, the light, all of it. So coming to the end, I wanted to make things a little fun here. So I've got some questions, and I asked for a one-word answer. So there's one word, and if it's a double barrel or a is it called a double barrel or a hyphenated, you know, you can go with two, but a one-word answer. We're just going to have a bit of fun. And please, I just want everyone to know as well, you know, these are Susanne, Amara's answers. They may not be yours. They may not reflect anything that you, you know, perceive at this point in time. They are purely for Amara, and we're just going to have a bit of fun. So, and then I've also got some other questions, which are just true and false. There's not many, and we just bounce through them. Are you okay with that?
About Terence Howard, I dodged a bullet there.
Well, no, I actually realized he's part of my last question of the one-word answer. So, okay, let's go with it. So, one-word answer. What would you describe God as?
Oneness.
Describe the biggest or largest disease on our planet right now.
Self-identity.
How would you most succinctly describe or define yourself right now?
Present.
What is the greatest deception?
Words.
Dragon energy. What is it in one word?
Paradox.
Terence Howard, from your perspective, what is the missing piece from his findings?
Truth.
What an answer. Interesting. Okay, beautiful. I've got my true or false questions. Jesus had a wife or wives and was not crucified on the cross as history says. True or false?
True.
Do true ascended masters walk this planet in physical form, or that which we know as ascended masters?
Oh. Depends on the perspective.
I knew you would say that with this one.
Two answers.
Go for it.
Are we all masters? True.
Yes.
Ascended masters in the way it's taught. False.
Got you. Beings, guides, and angels are created from our thought constructs.
True, in the larger sense, yes.
We are in a simulation.
True.
I already asked this one. Are the gods and goddesses in our history false AI gods?
True.
Is the moon organic?
False.
True bioregenesis would mean death need not occur.
True.
Is there a fundamental flaw in the teachings of astral projection from the perspective of the law of one?
True.
Are there 144,000 special beings?
False.
The aurora borealis that much of Europe just experienced, was that an organic or inorganic experience?
I'm taking the fifth on that one.
Okay.
Depends on your perspective.
We have the ability to change, upgrade, and reclaim our DNA.
True.
Beautiful. Susanne, Amara, thank you for joining the Delicately Wild podcast. That is our ending today. Yeah, I guess I usually ask everybody if there was one message for anybody listening at this point in time, that you had an impactful moment now to emit a frequency or a message, what would that message be?
Appreciate every moment, however it comes.
Yeah.
However you feel about that moment, because it is sacred and you'll never get another moment like it.
Yeah.
We often are not present. We're in the past, we're reminiscing, or trying to create something that's in the future. But the real gift and the place where God can truly communicate with us is in that moment of presence.
Yeah. Thank you. So presence as a theme has come up a lot, you know, in this session. And I just want to say thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Say again.
You are so loved.
Oh, yes, all of us.
You cannot be alone, truly. You are so very, very, very loved.
Yeah, I think that's important for people to know as well. You cannot be alone. Yeah, it's a unified field, right? We're all here for each other. Thank you for watching Delicately Wild, guys. If you have any questions, if there is anything that you would like to discuss, I mean, most people don't comment in any of this, but the request is still there that I would love to read and respond should you have any questions. And for this particular day, on this day, in this moment, I just want to thank you, Susanne, for joining this Delicately Wild podcast. And I have an inkling that we might do this again at some point in time. I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that's listening as well. I really appreciate this.
And we, yeah, I was going to say, you know, I know it's a lot of information, you know, to kind of squeeze into an hour and a bit, you know, almost 90 minutes or so. I get it. It's an overwhelm. And there's so many kind of aspects around all the topics we've spoken about. But yeah, do your best. And as we said, just take it in bite-sized chunks. Relax, breathe, come into stillness. And again, we honor you all. Thank you, Amara.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ciao.